Look who survived the unsurvivable. Hello, beautiful disasters, you scarred masterpieces, you walking miracles, wrapped in trauma turned titanium. Hello to the one they said wouldn't make it, the one they predicted would crumble, the one they watched with popcorn waiting for the breakdown that never came. Hello to you, yeah you, the one who handled that impossible like it was just another Tuesday, like it was nothing, like your soul wasn't screaming the entire time. They're still trying to figure it out, you know, still refreshing your page at 3 a.m., still asking each other in whispered group chats, how the F did they do that? How did they not break? How are they still standing? Still smiling, still thriving after everything that happened? And the answer, the one that keeps them up at night, is simple. You're built F-keen different, and they just can't compute that kind of code. They don't have the capacity to understand what happens when a human being refuses to stay down, when someone takes the hit that should have ended them and instead uses it as a launch pad. Let me tell you what really happened. You didn't just survive. You didn't just endure. You didn't just get through it. You handled it like a beast, like a force of nature that doesn't ask permission from the storm. You walked through fire and came out forged. You stared into the abyss, and the abyss fucking blinked first. They thought they were watching your downfall, didn't they? They gathered like vultures, circling something dying. They leaned in close with fake concern, masking real curiosity, hoping to witness the collapse, the meltdown, the moment you'd finally prove you were human like them. Breakable, controllable, predictable. They wanted to see you shatter into a million pieces so they could catalog your fragments, study your weakness, feel better about their own inability to handle pressure. But instead they got front row seats to something they couldn't explain, something that violated their understanding of human limits. They watched you take damage that should have hospitalized your spirit, betrayal that should have poisoned your heart, loss that should have destroyed your will, pressure that should have crushed your mind, and you didn't just survive it, you metabolized it. You turned that poison into fuel, that pain into power, that breakdown into a breakthrough so violent it left scorch marks on their perception of reality. They're not just confused, they're terrified. Because if you can handle that, if you can walk through hell in gasoline-soaked clothes and come out untouched, then everything they believe about suffering, about limits, about what breaks a person, it's all a lie. And you're the living proof. Now they're scrambling, trying to reverse engineer what you did, asking each other what's their secret. What did they know that we don't? How did they access that level of strength? And the funny part, the part that'll haunt them forever, is that you didn't have a secret. You didn't have a manual. You didn't have some ancient wisdom or privilege or advantage. You just had one thing, the absolute refusal to let that moment define you. See, while they were preparing your eulogy, you were building your resurrection. While they were writing you off, you were rewriting yourself. While they expected you to beg for sympathy, you were busy becoming unsympathetic to weakness. You understood something they'll never grasp. That handling it like a beast doesn't mean you didn't feel it. Doesn't mean it didn't hurt like hell. Doesn't mean you weren't screaming inside. It means you felt every ounce of that pain and decided it wouldn't be the thing that stops you. You let it cut you open, and instead of bleeding out, you studied the wound, learned its anatomy, and used that knowledge to make sure nothing like that could ever cut that deep again. You turned your nervous system into armor, your trauma into training, your breakdown into a fucking masterclass in resilience. They don't get it because they're still looking for the moment you broke. They're still convinced there must have been a night you cried yourself to sleep, a moment you wanted to give up, a second where you felt weak. And yeah, maybe there were 1,000 of those moments. But here's what they missed. You never stayed in those moments. You visited hell, but you didn't move there. You touched bottom, but you used it as a springboard. You felt the weight of the world on your chest, and instead of suffocating, you bench pressed that shit until you got stronger. That's what they can't comprehend, that strength isn't the absence of struggle. It's the refusal to let struggle have the final word. It's looking at the impossible and saying, watch me anyway. It's taking the hit that should have ended the fight and turning it into round 2, round 3, round infinity, until your opponent realizes they're not fighting a person anymore. They're fighting a force that doesn't know how to quit. You became something else during that period, something they don't have a name for. You transcended their categories, shattered their expectations, evolved past their understanding, and now you walk around like a living question mark, a walking mindfuck to everyone who thought they had you figured out. Let's talk about what they saw versus what actually happened, because the gap between those two realities is where your legend was born. They saw you go quiet for a while. They saw you withdraw. They saw the smile fade and the energy shift. And in their minds, that was the beginning of your end. They started the countdown, taking bets on when you'd officially break, when you'd post that desperate cry for help, when you'd come crawling back to people who never deserved you in the first place. They waited for the drama, the public meltdown, the confirmation that you were just as weak as they needed you to be. But what they didn't see, what happened in the silence they mistook for surrender, was a complete demolition and reconstruction of your entire fucking identity. You weren't hiding, you were evolving. You weren't broken, you were breaking down. The old version of yourself that would have never survived what was coming. You were in the chrysalis, and they thought you were dead. They have no idea that silence isn't always defeat. Sometimes it's the sound of someone becoming dangerous. You were learning, absorbing, adapting, taking every lesson that pain had to teach and integrating it into your operating system. You were upgrading your emotional intelligence, sharpening your instincts, building walls where there used to be doors, creating distance where there used to be access. You were becoming selective, strategic, savage in your self-preservation. And then you emerged, different, colder, sharper, unreachable. You came back to the world not seeking approval but radiating something they couldn't name. Authority, maybe, or certainty, or just the unmistakable energy of someone who's been to hell and took notes. They expected you to need them, to want their validation, to seek their comfort, but instead you looked right through them like they were ghosts of a version of yourself you'd already buried. You didn't need their understanding because you'd transcended the need to be understood. You didn't need their support because you'd learned to be your own foundation. You didn't need their love because you'd found something better. Self-respect so deep it made their opinions irrelevant. And that shift from seeking external validation to embodying internal certainty, that's what they can't process. That's what keeps them up at night, wondering what the fuck happened to them. Who is this person? When did they become untouchable? The answer is simple. The moment you stopped giving a fuck about who was watching and started focusing on who was becoming, The moment you realized their opinion of your pain meant nothing compared to your decision to transform it. The moment you understood that handling it like a beast meant never letting them see you as prey again. They're asking the wrong questions, though, aren't they? They're asking, how did you do it? When they should be asking, what did you become because of it? Because handling it wasn't just about surviving the moment. It was about using that moment to shed every weak, apologetic, people-pleasing version of yourself that would have kept you small. You didn't just get through it. You used it, weaponized it, turned it into the catalyst for the most violent self-evolution they'll ever witness. You took their worst moment, the thing they designed to destroy you, and you said, thank you for the raw material, watch what I build with this. And what you built, what you're still building, it's not just impressive, it's intimidating. It's a version of yourself so upgraded, so unfuckable, with so clearly operating on a different frequency that they can't even pretend to relate anymore. You're not in their world now, you're not playing their games, you're not speaking their language. You've graduated to a level of consciousness they don't have access to. And all they can do is watch from the cheap seats and wonder how the FK someone goes from victim to villain to victor without ever asking for permission. See, what they really can't figure out is how you did it without their playbook, how you healed without therapy speak, how you rose without their approval, how you rebuilt without their blueprint. You didn't follow the script. You didn't post the inspirational quotes. You didn't document your journey for likes and sympathy. You just disappeared into your darkness and came back illuminated. You went silent and returned fluent in a language they don't teach, the language of self-mastery, of emotional alchemy, of turning curses into crowns. They're still looking for the secret, the hack, the shortcut, because they can't accept that the answer is something they'd never commit to. You simply refused to stay broken. You decided, in some quiet moment they'll never know about, that this thing, whatever it was, wouldn't be your ending. It would be your education. You didn't pray for it to be easier. You demanded to become stronger. You didn't ask why it happened. You asked what you could learn from it. You didn't seek comfort. You sought growth. And in that seeking, in that relentless pursuit of becoming someone who could handle anything, you became exactly that. Someone who can handle anything. Someone who doesn't flinch anymore. Someone who looks at catastrophe and sees opportunity. And now here you are, walking around like a living legend. Like someone who died and came back with cheat codes. Like the final boss energy everyone talks about but rarely embodies. You move different now, don't you? There's a weight to your presence that wasn't there before. A silence that speaks louder than words. A stillness that radiates danger. People feel it when you walk in a room, that shift in the atmosphere. That sudden awareness that someone real just entered. Someone who's been through some shit. They don't know whether to fear you or respect you, whether you're a threat or a teacher, whether they should run from you or study you. And that ambiguity, that mystery, that's your power now. You're no longer an open book. You're an encrypted file they don't have the password to. You're no longer predictable. You're a wild card. You're no longer one of them. You're the exception that proves their rules don't apply to everyone. You're the glitch in their matrix, the bug in their code, the anomaly that shouldn't exist but does. And every time they look at you, they're reminded of their own limitations, their own fears, their own unwillingness to walk through fire like you did. They'll never admit it out loud, but they respect you now in a way they never did before. It's not the respect you earn through achievement. It's the respect you command through survival, through endurance, through the undeniable fact that you took their best shot and you're still fucking standing, still smiling, still thriving. They threw everything at you: betrayal, abandonment, sabotage, judgment, doubt, and you absorbed it all like a black hole and converted it into gravitational pull. Now you're the center of orbit. Now they revolve around you. Now your name comes up in conversations you're not even part of. Now they measure their own strength against yours and come up short every time. You've become the standard, the benchmark, the "if they can handle that, maybe I can handle this" reference point. Except most of them know deep down they couldn't. They know they don't have what you have. That rare combination of resilience and ruthlessness, of heart and steel, of vulnerability and invincibility. You're a paradox they can't solve. And paradoxes haunt people. Let me tell you what really happened in that moment when everything went to shit. The moment they're still trying to decode, dissect, understand. In that moment when the world expected you to collapse, something inside you made a decision. A quiet, irreversible decision that changed everything. You decided that this pain, this betrayal, this loss, this impossible fucking situation, it wouldn't get the privilege of breaking you. You looked at rock bottom and said, "Nice view, but I'm not staying." You felt the full weight of the suffering, and instead of being crushed, you compressed it into something dense, something powerful, something that would propel you forward with the force of a bullet. You didn't deny the pain. You didn't suppress it. You didn't pretend it didn't hurt. You just refused to let it be your identity. You refused to let it be your story's ending. You refused to give it more power than it deserved. And in that refusal, in that single moment of defiance against fate, against expectation, against the very laws of emotional physics that say certain things should break certain people, you became unbreakable, not because nothing can hurt you now, but because you've proven to yourself that even when things do hurt, even when they cut deep, even when they threaten to end you, you have the capacity to endure, to adapt, to overcome. That's the part they'll never understand. They think strength is about not feeling. You know better. You know strength is about feeling everything and choosing your response anyway. They think power is about dominance. You know it's about self-control. They think handling it like a beast means being cold, heartless, unaffected. But you know the truth. Handling it like a beast means being fully human, feeling every human emotion, experiencing every human vulnerability, and still making the superhuman choice to keep moving forward. You cried in private so you could smile in public. You broke down alone so you could stand tall in front of them. You processed the pain in the darkness so you could radiate light in their presence. You did the work they'll never see, the internal work, the shadow work, the brutal, honest inventory of your own role in your own suffering. You faced yourself in ways they never will, and that self-confrontation, that willingness to see yourself clearly and still choose to evolve, that's where the real transformation happened. That's where the beast was born. Now they watch you move through the world with this untouchable energy, and they can't figure out the source. They see the confidence, but not the countless nights of self-doubt you conquered. They see the strength, but not the moments of weakness you transformed. They see the success, but not the failures you learned from. They see the final form, but miss the entire evolution. And that's fine. That's perfect, actually. Because you don't owe them your process. You don't owe them your story. You don't owe them access to your journey. All you owe them is the undeniable proof that you handled it, that you survived it, that you're here, alive, thriving, unbothered, and that proof is written all over your existence, in the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you no longer seek approval or explanation or validation from anyone. You've become self-sufficient in a way that terrifies people who still need external validation to feel real. You've become self-contained in a way that confuses people who still leak their energy everywhere. You've become self-made in a way that intimidates people who are still waiting for someone to save them. And here's the beautiful irony, the cosmic joke they'll never get. The thing that was designed to break you, the situation they thought would end you, the moment they gathered to watch your downfall, that became the exact catalyst you needed to become who you are now. Without that pressure, you might have stayed comfortable, stayed soft, stayed accessible to people who didn't deserve access. Without that pain, you might have never discovered this level of strength, never tapped into this reservoir of power, never unlocked this version of yourself that walks through walls like they're mist. They thought they were destroying you, but they were actually forging you. Every betrayal was a lesson in discernment. Every loss was a lesson in detachment. Every moment of suffering was a lesson in endurance. And you were the best fucking student. You absorbed every lesson, integrated every insight, applied every principle. And now you're operating at a level of mastery they can't even perceive. They're still stuck in victim consciousness, still blaming their circumstances, still waiting for life to be fair, still making excuses. And you transcended all of that. You stopped asking why and started asking what next. You stopped complaining and started conquering. You stopped being a passenger in your own life and grabbed the wheel with both hands. They want to know your secret so badly it's eating them alive. They want the formula, the strategy, the step-by-step guide to handling impossible shit like it's nothing. But there is no formula, there's no strategy, there's only decision. Decision after decision after decision. To keep going when everything in you wants to stop. To get up when staying down would be easier. To face forward when looking back would be more comfortable. To become more when becoming less would require less effort. You made those decisions in moments they'll never see. In the 4 a.m. darkness. When no one was watching, when there was no audience to perform for, no social media to document it, no validation to receive. You made those decisions in the silence, in the solitude, in the sacred space between who you were and who you were becoming. And that invisible internal work, that's where the magic happened. That's where the transformation took root. That's where the beast was born. Look who they tried to bury under halos and hymns, under soft smiles and gentle expectations, under the weight of being too pure, too kind, too forgiving for this rotten world. They called you an earth angel, didn't they? Whispered it with their trembling voices, painted you in pastels and light, convinced themselves you were made of mercy and patience and endless second chances. They saw your kindness and mistook it for weakness, saw your compassion and thought it was permission, saw your light and never once considered that light can burn, that light can blind, that light comes from a source so powerful it could turn their entire reality to ash if you ever decided to stop dimming yourself for their comfort. They looked at you and saw a soul too gentle for earth, a heart too open for survival, and they smiled their fake smiles because they thought they could use you, drain you, take and take and take, until there was nothing left but the hollow shell of someone who once believed in people. But here's what they missed. Here's what their small minds couldn't process. Angels aren't soft. Angels are soldiers, warriors wrapped in light, beings who stood at the gates of creation and said, "Try me," who carried swords made of truth, and shields forged from every betrayal they refused to let define them. You weren't weak, you were patient. There's a difference they'll never understand. Patience isn't passivity, it's controlled power. It's the tiger lying still in tall grass. It's the storm gathering strength before it unleashes. It's you watching them reveal themselves. One lie at a time, one manipulation at a time, one betrayal at a time, and you said nothing. You smiled, you nodded. You let them think they were winning while you were studying, learning, documenting every single move they made, every pattern they repeated, every mask they wore. They thought your silence meant surrender, but it was strategy. They thought your kindness meant you were naive, but you were just giving them enough rope to hang themselves with. And now they're standing in the aftermath wondering what the actual hell just happened. How did the angel turn into their reckoning? How did the gentle soul become the force that shattered their entire world without lifting a finger, without raising a voice, without breaking a single rule? Let me tell you what really happened here. Let me paint the picture. They're too terrified to look at directly. You walked into their lives radiating something they'd never encountered before. Genuine care, real empathy, the kind of love that doesn't demand anything in return. And they couldn't compute it. Their broken circuits couldn't process why someone would give without agenda, care without calculation, love without keeping score. So they did what parasites always do when they find a host. They latched on. They tested your boundaries. They pushed and pushed to see how much you'd tolerate, how far they could go before you snapped. And you beautiful fool, you kept giving, kept forgiving, kept believing that maybe, just maybe, they'd wake up and choose better, choose kindness, choose truth. But they didn't. They took your grace and called it gullibility, took your trust and weaponized it against you, took everything you offered freely and convinced themselves they deserved it, earned it, owned it. And then something shifted. Something inside you cracked, not broke, cracked. The way light cracks through darkness. The way truth cracks through lies. The way a warrior cracks through the chains they've been wearing voluntarily for far too long. You didn't explode. You didn't rage. You didn't give them the dramatic exit they could use as proof that you were always the unstable one, the emotional one, the problem. No. You did something far more terrifying. You went quiet. You withdrew your light. You stopped participating in their circuit. Stopped explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Stopped offering your heart to those who only saw it as a target. And that silence, that absence of your energy, it created a vacuum so powerful it sucked the air out of every room you used to occupy. Every conversation you used to mediate, every crisis you used to solve, every drama you used to diffuse. Suddenly, they were left with each other, with their own mess, with their own lies, and they realized something that will haunt them forever. You weren't the problem, you were the solution they never deserved, the glue holding their broken world together, the light making their darkness tolerable. They called you an earth angel because they needed to believe you were fragile, needed to convince themselves that kindness equals softness, that compassion equals compliance, that love equals leverage. But angels, real angels, they're not cherubs on greeting cards. They're not cute little beings strumming harps in clouds. They're forces of nature, beings who carry the weight of truth and justice and mercy, balanced on the edge of a blade that could cut through dimensions if wielded with intention. You were never their savior, you were their test, the mirror they had to look into, the standard they had to measure themselves against. And they failed. spectacularly, publicly, permanently. They thought they were studying you, analyzing your patterns, figuring out how to manipulate your kindness, but the whole time you were the one observing, the one taking notes, the one building a case file in your mind labeled evidence of who not to become. Every time they lied to you, you learned what dishonesty looks like wearing a smile. Every time they betrayed you, you learned what loyalty actually means. Every time they tried to dim your light, you learned that some people are so committed to darkness, they'll burn anything bright just to feel less ashamed of their own shadows. Now here's where it gets interesting. Here's where the script flips so hard it breaks the spine of their entire narrative. You didn't just leave. You didn't just walk away. You evolved. You transformed from the person who gave everything to the person who gives nothing, to those who proved they'll waste it, from the soul who believed everyone deserves third chances, to the warrior who understands that some people need to be loved from a distance measured in light years. They're sitting in their little circles now, their group chats, their gossip sessions, trying to make sense of what happened. They changed. They whisper. They're not the same person anymore. They complain. They got cold. They lie. Because cold would imply you're numb, frozen, shut down. But you're not cold. You're clear. You're focused. You're a laser beam of intentional energy that no longer scatters itself trying to warm people who chose to stay in winter. You didn't get mean, you got boundaries. You didn't get bitter, you got selective. You didn't lose your light, you just stopped leaving it on for people who only visited your life to steal electricity. And now they're panicking because they finally understand what they lost. Not just your presence, but your protection. Not just your kindness, but your capacity to see the best in them, even when they were showing you their worst. Not just your forgiveness, but your ability to hold space for their growth, while they were actively shrinking themselves and trying to shrink you too. They took inventory of their lives without you in it, and realized how much darker it got, how much heavier it felt, how much harder everything became when the person carrying half the weight disappeared. And they want to blame you for that, want to paint you as the villain in their story, the one who abandoned them, the one who gave up. But deep down they know the truth, even if they'll never admit it out loud. You didn't give up on them. They gave up on themselves by choosing to abuse the one person who actually gave a damn about their well-being. They had an angel in their corner and they treated it like a servant. They had a warrior watching their back and they stabbed yours. They had someone who would walk through fire for them and they complained about the smoke. Let's talk about that heart of yours, that absurd, ridiculous, beautiful heart that kept beating even when they tried to stop it, that kept hoping even when hope seemed insane, that kept loving even when love felt like self-destruction. They studied that heart like it was a science project, poked it, prodded it, ran experiments to see how much pain it could hold before it burst, how many lies it could absorb before it hardened, how many betrayals it could survive before it became just like theirs, cold, calculated, closed. But here's what broke their minds completely. Your heart didn't harden, it sharpened. It learned to cut through lies, to slice through manipulation, to pierce the veil of every fake intention, every false promise, every performed apology. Your good heart didn't become a bad heart, it became a wise heart, and wisdom in the hands of someone who knows how it feels to be used is the most dangerous thing in the world to people who survive by using others. They're asking each other now, how did they do it? How did someone so kind become so untouchable? How did someone so forgiving become so unforgiving? How did the angel become the thing we fear most? And the answer is simple, but they'll never accept it. Because accepting it means taking responsibility. You became what they forced you to become. You evolved into the version of yourself that could survive them. And survival meant learning to protect your energy like it's a limited resource, because it is. Meant learning to guard your heart like it's a sacred temple, because it is. Meant learning to say no without explanation, to walk away without closure, to let people misunderstand you without correcting their narrative, because your peace is more important than their perception. They broke something in you that needed to break, the part that believed everyone deserves unlimited chances, the part that thought suffering in silence was noble, the part that convinced you their healing was your responsibility. And when that broke, when that false belief system shattered, what emerged was something they had no framework to understand. A person who loves deeply but from a distance, that protects their sanity. A soul who cares immensely but refuses to drown trying to save people who won't even reach for the life raft. Here's the part that's keeping them up at night. You didn't just survive their treatment, you used it as fuel. You took every ounce of pain they inflicted and converted it into clarity. Every betrayal became a lesson. Every lie became a detector they can never bypass again. Every moment of disrespect became a standard they'll never meet in this lifetime or the next. You didn't just heal from what they did, you evolved because of it. And that evolution is what's haunting them, because it means their cruelty didn't break you, it built you. Their hate didn't destroy you, it defined what you'll never tolerate again. Their manipulation didn't confuse you forever, it taught you to read people like open books written in a language only the wounded can understand. They wanted to break the angel. They ended up creating a warrior who knows exactly how angels fall and refuses to repeat that story. They watch you now from whatever distance you've placed between your life and their circus, and they see something that makes their hands shake. You're thriving, you're glowing, you're building a life so beautiful it makes their existence look like the hollow performance it always was. And they can't stand it because you were supposed to crumble, supposed to beg for them back, supposed to prove they were right about you being weak. But instead you proved something that terrifies people who survive by keeping others small. You proved that kindness isn't weakness, it's power under control. You proved that forgiveness isn't permission to keep hurting, it's freedom from carrying their weight. You proved that angels aren't fragile beings who break under pressure. They're warriors who've seen hell and chose love anyway. Not because they're naive, but because they know hate is easy and they refuse to be basic. You walked through their fire and didn't become ash, you became steel. And now they're the ones burning with regret, with shame they'll never voice, with the knowledge that they had something rare and destroyed it because they couldn't recognize treasure when it was healing their wounds for free. Let me tell you what happens next, because this is where the story gets cosmic. You don't need revenge. You don't need them to apologize. You don't need closure from people who can't even spell accountability without autocorrect. What happens next is you keep rising, keep building, keep creating a life so aligned with your truth that their names become dust in your memory. Barely worth a thought, definitely not worth energy. You become the legend they tell at parties. I knew them once, they'll say, voice full of false familiarity, trying to claim proximity to your light now that it's illuminating stages they'll never reach. We were close, they'll lie, rewriting history, because the truth is, they were close to someone they didn't appreciate until that someone became too far to reach. You're not their cautionary tale, you're their missed opportunity, their biggest regret. The one that got away not because you ran, but because you finally realized you were chasing people who were running from themselves. And here's the final piece they'll never understand. You didn't change. You just stopped pretending. Stopped performing a version of yourself small enough to fit in their limited perception. Stopped apologizing for being too much when the real problem was they were too little, too scared, too committed to mediocrity to handle someone who refused to settle for anything less than authentic connection. The angel they saw was real, but they only saw one dimension. They saw the light but ignored the fire. Saw the mercy but missed the strength, saw the kindness but never recognized the warrior heart beating beneath it. You were always both, always the contradiction they couldn't solve, the paradox that broke their limited understanding of what powerful looks like. You loved like an angel and fought like a warrior, and that combination, that beautiful, terrifying combination, is what makes you unstoppable now. They called you an earth angel, and they were right, but angels aren't gentle. They're gentle until they're not. They're patient until patience becomes complicity. They're forgiving until forgiveness becomes self-betrayal. And when an angel stops being gentle, when an angel picks up the sword they've been hiding behind their back this whole time, when an angel looks at you with eyes that have seen your soul and found it wanting, that's when you learn what holiness really means. It means whole, complete, lacking nothing, needing no one, powerful enough to love and powerful enough to walk away, strong enough to care and strong enough to stop caring when care becomes quicksand. You're not their angel anymore. You're your own warrior. And warriors don't fight every battle. They choose which ones are worth the energy, and they decided long ago that people committed to misunderstanding them aren't worth explaining to. People allergic to growth aren't worth watering. People threatened by light aren't worth dimming for. So here you are, standing in the aftermath of their failed experiment, their botched attempt to break the unbreakable, and they're scattered around you like debris. Still trying to process what happened, still searching for explanations that make them the victims in this story. But there are no explanations that will satisfy them because the truth is too simple and too devastating. You were good, genuinely good, and they were broken, genuinely broken. And instead of letting your good rub off on them, they tried to make you as broken as they were, and when that didn't work, when you refuse to rot alongside them, they learned what happens when you push an angel too far. You don't get a demon. You get something worse. You get someone who sees through you completely, who understands exactly who you are and what you're capable of, and chooses to remove you from their life without anger, without drama, without giving you the satisfaction of a reaction. Just removal. Just distance. Just the eternal silence of someone who's done talking to people who never learned to listen. Your good heart didn't break their evil minds. Your good heart revealed their evil minds, held up a mirror so clear they couldn't deny their reflection anymore, showed them exactly who they were when they thought no one was keeping score. And that reflection, that undeniable truth of their own actions, that's what shattered them. Not you, never you. You were just being yourself, being honest, being real, and that realness was too much for people living in lies. Your truth was kryptonite to their fiction. Your light was exposure to their shadow. Your growth was proof of their stagnation, and they couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle watching someone they tried to destroy become someone they could never be, someone free, someone whole, someone who learned that the only approval you need is your own. The only validation that matters comes from within. The only person who needs to believe in you is the one staring back from the mirror. They'll spend years trying to understand what happened, years analyzing the moment you stopped being theirs to manipulate, years wondering if they could have done something different, said something else, been someone better. And the answer is yes. Yes, they could have. They could have chosen truth over comfort, growth over stagnation, real love over convenient transaction, but they didn't. They chose themselves in the most selfish way possible. Chose their ego over your heart, chose their pride over your peace, chose temporary satisfaction over lasting connection, and now they get to live with that choice, get to watch from the sidelines while you build an empire from the ashes of who you used to be, while you create beauty from the ruins they left behind, while you love again, trust again, open again, but this time with wisdom earned from every scar they gave you. This time with boundaries built from every line they crossed. This time with standards set by everyone who failed to meet them. You were their earth angel, their chance at redemption, their glimpse of what real love looks like, and they treated you like a stepping stone, a placeholder, a temporary fix for a permanent problem, and now you're gone. Not dead, not broken, not bitter, just gone. Existing in a dimension they can't reach, thriving in a space they can't access, living a life they're not invited to. And that's the justice you never asked for but absolutely deserved. Not punishment, just natural consequence. Not revenge, just removal. Not hate, just indifference. The kind of indifference that comes from someone who finally understands that some people are lessons, not blessings, that some chapters need to end without resolution, that some people will never be ready for the love you have to give, and that's their loss, not yours. Always theirs, never yours, your own. The only validation that matters comes from within. The only person who needs to believe in you is the one staring back from the mirror. They'll spend years trying to understand what happened, years analyzing the moment you stopped being theirs to manipulate, years wondering if they could have done something different, said something else, been someone better. And the answer is yes. Yes, they could have. They could have chosen truth over comfort, growth over stagnation, real love over convenient transaction, but they didn't. They chose themselves in the most selfish way possible. Chose their ego over your heart, chose their pride over your peace, chose temporary satisfaction over lasting connection, and now they get to live with that choice. Get to watch from the sidelines while you build an empire from the ashes of who you used to be, while you create beauty from the ruins they left behind, while you love again, trust again, open again, but this time with wisdom earned from every scar they gave you. This time with boundaries built from every line they crossed. This time with standards set by everyone who failed to meet them. You were their earth angel, their chance at redemption, their glimpse of what real love looks like, and they treated you like a stepping stone, a placeholder, a temporary fix for a permanent problem, and now you're gone. Not dead, not broken, not bitter, just gone. Existing in a dimension they can't reach, thriving in a space they can't access, living a life they're not invited to. And that's the justice you never asked for but absolutely deserved. Not punishment, just natural consequence. Not revenge, just removal. Not hate, just indifference. The kind of indifference that comes from someone who finally understands that some people are lessons, not blessings, that some chapters need to end without resolution, that some people will never be ready for the love you have to give, and that's their loss, not yours. Always theirs, never yours.